If you ask the average person on the street what this object was, I think they would be able to very quickly tell you that it's a helmet from the ancient world. It is the iconic image, for me, of the Greek world. So this is a beautiful example of a Corinthian helmet from the late Archaic period. So we're talking 525 to 475 BC. There are comparable examples in major institutions, most notably the British Museum and the Metropolitan Museum. It's really hard to be certain about the question of whether this helmet itself saw battle. But what I would say is there is wear around the material that suggests that it was certainly used and worn. And one thing to keep in mind is that burials with helmets like this are very, very rare on the Greek mainland. Rather, they've survived because they were taken as war booty and they were dedicated at sanctuaries like Olympia. This helmet is of a fairly typical style, but it is particularly accomplished. The contours and lines are very exact. It is very harmonious in its proportions, and just some of the little details are really, really special. There are a series of engraved lines sweeping from the top of the nose guard through to the eyes and just out here. And what that actually represents is bull's horns. Some of the earlier versions of the Corinthian would have quite dramatic incised bull's horns at the side. The bull, of course, was believed to represent strength and virility and appears again and again in Greek myth and legend. And here we can see just a nod to that stylistic element, but very, very much scaled back, but just a little sweep indicates the bull's horns. You can imagine prior to a battle, this helmet would be the last thing that the warrior would put on. For all its defensive qualities, it was famously quite suffocating. So it restricted your vision, it restricted your hearing, and even in the midst of battle, if there was a break, the warrior would pull it back over his head just to catch a breath, to get a sense of what was going on around him. But in terms of who would have worn it and what would their role have been, this is an elite piece of armour, without a doubt. However, by the time that this piece was produced, the culture, the Homeric culture that we associate with the earlier periods of the Greek world, the Bronze Age, that was very much about individual heroism. Two elite aristocrats fighting one another, Hector and Achilles. By the time that helmets like this were being worn and used, the entire male population of a city would be expected to defend that city if it came to war. And so this piece would have been a standard piece of armour for every male citizen in the city from whence he came. So whoever owned this would have had it. Perhaps it was handed down from his father or his grandfather, and he would have worn it and he would have taken it when he was called to do so by his polis. There's something about it when you look at it, because it evokes so clearly the shape of a head. You can almost picture the individual who was wearing it, and it really delivers you into that moment very, very profoundly.